Okay, here we go on the homework, guys. Let's see how this went for you. If you messed up, it's probably radicals, but hopefully you labeled all your stuff correct, and maybe you just messed up a little bit of the math. Here's your first four problems. This is what's been given. I didn't recopy the variables because it doesn't really matter. What I'm going to do is just take the picture and go, well, they gave me a leg, and I know the legs have to be equal, so both of these are x and x, which means that's 2 root 2. This one's supposed to be x root 2, which means I need to take what I had down here and multiply that by the square root of 2. And when I do that, it looks like I'm going to get, this is now a square root of 4. And what's the square root of 4? Well, that's 2, so 2 times 2 is 4. So I would have put a 4 on my hypotenuse. On number 2, same thing. This is the 90 degrees, so they gave me this leg, which means this leg matches. And if we want the hypotenuse, I'm supposed to do x times the square root of 2, which means square root of 2 times square root of 2, which is the square root of 4, which is 2. So that should be the hypotenuse, and those should be the legs. Number 3, it's now a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Now, the one they gave me is a cross from the 60, which means it's in the spot of x root 3. That means this one's the short side, and I need to label it x, and this is the hypotenuse, 2x. So I'm going to take this number now and compare. So x root 3 needs to be equal to 3 square roots of 3. And just looking at it, you can tell that the x is supposed to be a 3, which makes the hypotenuse a 6. Okay, now if you couldn't tell from looking at it, then get the x by itself by dividing. And when you do that, a 3 is left behind. Okay. Number 4, it's also a 30, 60, 90. And before I even look at that, let me just label my triangle. If that's 30, then that's x. The long leg is x root 3. The hypotenuse is 2x. So they gave me the 10, which is the 2x. I can now divide by 2, so I know x is 5, so I could put a 5 over here. And then to get the long leg, I put the 5 in for that x, so it's a 5 root 3. All right, let's move on to the next 4. Okay, here's the next 4. Number 5, it's a 30, 60, 90, so that looks like across from the 30, they've given me the short side, which means if I label the long leg and the hypotenuse, I just need to fill in the number now. X is 3. I don't have to solve anything. So x is 3, which makes this 6, and which makes this 3 times the square root of 3. So those are my two sides. Number 6, it's a 45, 45, 90. The part of the picture they gave me looks like the hypotenuse, so it's supposed to be an x root 2. Well, since that looks nothing like x root 2, I'm going to set them equal to each other and try to figure out what in the world x is. So how do I solve for x? Well, I need to get rid of that number, which means dividing by that number. Okay, so x, this is a really ugly one because x is actually 2 root 3 over root 2. And I would probably just leave it like this. Like I said, you'll learn how to clean that up a little better later. But that's what both of these are. So both of these are that same answer. Okay, number 7 is a 45, 45, 90. Same thing. It looks like they've given me the hypotenuse. And so in the spot of x root 2 is a 3 root 2. So hopefully from just looking at it, we can tell that, okay, then x must be 3. And then you can just label that. If not, do the dividing thing, and you'll see that it's 3. So just divide off the square root of 2 if you like. Okay, over here, we've got, this is the 60, which makes this the long leg. So it's the x root 3. Across from the 30 is the short one, which is x, and this is the hypotenuse. So we need to take 5 root 3 and compare it to x root 3. And when you look at those, you can see that x is supposed to be 5. So if x is 5, then I'm going to put in 5 here for this side. And I'm going to take 5 times 2, and that's my hypotenuse. The last two, numbers 9 and 10, 9 is 45, 45, 90. And they've given me that leg at the bottom, okay? So since they've given me that, this is x, this is x, this is x root 2. Well, that's a 4, so that's a 4, so that's a 4 root 2. I like those kind. Those are pretty easy. You probably like that kind too. Okay, the next one is 60 degrees here, which makes this 30. And then I just label up my stuff. So if this is 30, then this is x. The long leg is x root 3. And the hypotenuse is 2x. So what did they give me? It looks like they've put a 2 root 3 at the top of the page. So my x is 2 root 3. There's nothing to solve. That's just in the spot of x. So if x is 2 root 3, then to get right here, I need to do x times the square root of 3, which would be 2 times, that would be the square root of 9, right? And then what's the square root of 9? 3, so 2 times 3, so 6. Good grief. So a lot of work, but that answer here is 6. For the hypotenuse, I would take this 2 and multiply it by the x that was given, so 2 times 2 root 3. So on this one, we get to put the numbers in front together, so it's a 4, but we can't put anybody with that square root because there's not another square root, so it's just 4 root 3. So those would be the 3 sides of this final triangle. Okay, hopefully that went well. This is a big deal. I've seen some teachers spend 3 or 4 weeks on just what we did in this one lesson. So if it feels like a lot and it feels like overload, don't worry. You'll get plenty of practice with it next year. I just wanted you to get to see it and be introduced to it so it's not too horrible next year. All right, we'll see you next week.